Greetings. This is episode 8 of my sub 30 hour campaign on the 100 miler. And today we're going to be talking about the importance of crew and the logistics that give crew and yourself, the runner, some kind of guidance and markers that you need to be aware of. So, and this is critical. Crew is gold. When you have a good crew of pacers and minders, it can make all the difference in your run and whether you're successful or not. It's not just you attempting the 100. The crew is also attempting the 100, and they're very proud of that usually. So pick a good crew, make sure that they are very serious about getting you through the hard times and keep you on track, and maybe a measure of tough love as it goes. Some of the blogs warn against people choosing family members who maybe don't have a lot of experience with the hardships that come with 100, and in some cases when the going gets tough, they want to take care of you. They want to make sure you don't get hurt, and so maybe the tough love isn't there. It's too much love. But most people who take part in crewing are pretty serious. So as long as you outline expectations and make sure that they know what they're getting into. It's really tough to crew overnight. When it gets colder, it's pitch dark, you might be out in the middle of nowhere and you're waiting for hours sometimes for your runner to come by. So, and at that point you're going to be on. So it's really a labor of love. So anyway, just a caveat here. I am going to focus on crew and logistics as it relates to the a successful attempt at the 100 on a looped track. And the loop ideally should be 8 miles or less. And for my guiding document, there are a lot of people who, and probably most people, who do end-to-end point-to-point races, and that's a very different kind of crewing mentality, and the logistics are very, very difficult. So, but again, I'll focus on the short loops here. So crew, if we look at crew, determining who you get and so forth, one of the questions that comes up is, how many crew members do you need? My first attempt at the 100 that was successful, I had 3 crew members stretched across 2 runners, and that obviously, in the middle of the night we were quite stretched, especially as people got tired and it was extremely cold. On my second successful attempt, I had 2 crew members, and they were exclusively focused on me, the runner, and that proved to be quite effective. So I would say at a minimum you need a crew of 2 for each runner, but I would actually strongly suggest 3, and the third person is there because you want to rotate out one person consistently, so that every few hours one of the 3 gets a break, and that makes a big difference. Keeps them fresh, keeps them focused, gives them variety. It's not as big a chore if you know that you have a break coming up and so forth. So just a little suggestion there. I would say 3 crew minimum. related to the crew is whether you need a pacer or not. And in my first successful attempt, I did not have a pacer, and it really cost me in those early hours in the morning when you're really at your lowest point. My second successful attempt, I had a crew member who also paced me from about 1 a.m. all the way through about 6 a.m. And that was amazing. My thoughts didn't drift. I was focused. I was inspired by the person running with me, and the time flew by, relatively speaking. So I would strongly suggest you have at least one pacer in those overnight hours, and actually I would, if you had the luxury, suggest two paces, so that you can take the pressure off your paces quite a bit. If they're running on and off for 5 hours, that's a lot. If you've got two splitting up the duties and alternating, it just makes for a much better experience for the pacers. So anyway, I do suggest two if possible. Next, let's look at the logistics. And I do a very detailed logistical map or spreadsheet for the crew and for myself that outlines, what I need, what my targets are for every 10-mile segment, all the way from mile 10 to mile 100. And so, the main categories that I use, first of all, it's pace. I set my target run pace and my target walk pace, in each 10-mile segment. In that way, I know when I'm close to my targeted pace, whether I need to pick it up a little bit or maybe back off because I'm too excited. My crew also knows if I'm getting into trouble, especially as we're getting to the later hours, and they can then practice tough love or maybe encourage me to stay on target, or just remind me that I'm straying a little bit. So I give arrival times for each 10-mile segment so that the crew is fully aware of when to expect me. The other thing that I do is I might call ahead if I am drifting from that time, and give them an alert. So beyond just the pacing, I also outline, when I'm going to need electronics. Am I using music in that 10-mile segment? Do I need batteries swapped out? Do I need batteries charged? Do I need my headlamp? Am I, those kinds of logistics that can really get you in trouble, especially overnight when it's quite dark and everybody's tired, and things can happen quickly because when you come into the support station, you want exactly what you need in that moment. And of course they call 100-milers grumpy runners. So anyway, the spreadsheet gives people an advance warning of what to expect in any given 10-mile segment on the electronics as well. But beyond electronics and pacing and so forth, I also outline what I'll need for clothing in that segment. Are we getting into colder times in the early evening? Am I going to shed some clothing as it gets warmer during the heart of the day? Things like that. Am I going to do a shoe change, a sock change, things like that, just so that I am focused on doing that. I mean, in my first successful attempt at the 100, I got a little bit behind on the clothing issue because I was tired. I was in 60 miles, 70 miles, and I wasn't thinking straight, and I wasn't dressed warmly enough, and my core temperature dropped too far, and by the time I realized that, it was too late. So just the clothing piece on the spreadsheet is really just to remind you to be proactive before you get into that situation. I also, on the spreadsheet, outline my medication needs as I go. And of course, I'm talking about, ibuprofen, anti-inflammatories and so forth. I tend to get sciatic nerve pain at predictable, spots in my run, usually between 10 and 15 it starts, and then I got to manage it from there on. So I try to outline when I'm going to take ibuprofen, and I also do that so that I don't get into a situation where I end up taking too many over that 30-hour period, and that's important. Your liver and your kidneys are going to go through hell. They got enough problems without having to deal with the medication. So there are a lot of logistics that you could add here. You could add in maybe the rotation of your crew members, who's on, who's off at any given segment. And, so these things are all important to give crew a sense of what to expect, and gives them time to prepare and things like that. But having said all of that, you can prepare all you want, and things deviate. And so one of the tricks that I learned is, obviously I have my phone with me on every segment, and I usually use my voice commands like Siri, or depending on which type of phone I have, to send a text, give my crew a warning. I'm going to deviate. I'm going to need X clothing. I'm going to need an insured drink. I might need, a banana that I didn't have on my spreadsheet, or I'm coming in a little later than I anticipated. Here's why. Just give them a heads up. I've got a blister or hot spot, and I'm going to have to treat it. Just be ready with Band-Aids and scissors and so forth, ointments. And in that way, you can prepare the crew, and it's not so crazy when you come in. As I said, 100 milers are grumpy runners, and in many cases, we're known for not having a lot of words. Our preference is to point to things, especially once you get to 70, 80 miles. The talking ability or the patience of the runners is, severely challenged, and you can understand why. But the crew, as long as they understand that as well, and they're forewarning, things seem to work a lot better. So anyway, that's everything for episode 8. And so stay tuned for episodes 9 through 12 upcoming, and make sure that you subscribe, and we'll get you through this. Don't forget, the race is going to be December 29th and 30th in Phoenix, Arizona. If you want to join me, let me know. Have a great week.